So we're continuing our study through the book of Ruth, this lovely, short and compact story, but that has so kind of little nuggets of wonderfulness in there. Today we are going to be thinking around chapter 2 a little bit, and maybe focusing a little bit more on the character of Boaz. So Boaz is the man that that Naomi recognizes is a member of her wider family. And he's a man of standing, he's a man of means. Actually, what this means is that he owns land, and he also probably has whilst he won't have his own army, he has the means to have his own weapons to protect himself and his clan as well. So that puts him in quite an interesting position, because it puts him in a place of responsibility, not just to his wider family, but not just to his extended family, but the broader family, the clan that might be a little bit more spread out, for example. What we read is this story of Ruth going to glean from the crops in the field. Now, gleaning is a really interesting thing, practice. It's written into the law of Moses that it was for the purpose of making sure that the poor and the foreigner could be fed, so that they would leave bits at the hard-to-reach bits. Those who were the reapers of the harvest would leave these bits at the edge, so that those who were poor or disenfranchised for whatever reason would be able to still find the grain for themselves. And then we have this lovely thing that Boaz kind of gets in there a little bit and says, actually, he identifies who Ruth is, he sees her, and he specifically tells his workers not to bother her. Now, there's all sorts of possibilities about what this might mean in terms of whether it implies something physical, whether just to leave her alone physically. There is a possibility that it might have meant kind of sexual misconduct and things like that. That would have been depended on whether, I guess, Boaz trusted his employees or not. But actually, it's probably most likely to be about verbal abuse. So it's really interesting, isn't it, that as a stranger and as a foreigner, he would have identified that she might have been subject to verbal abuse, showing that really racism has really been a part of our story for a long, long time, which is a really sad thing that something we're still dealing with today. But throughout, Boaz shows favor to Ruth, which I find really fascinating. He's a very honorable man, and he does everything by the law and the customs of the day. And so what I want us to do is just have a little think about what honorable might mean for us. So have a think as you kind of share in your group. Pause the video for a moment and think, what does being honorable, and maybe what does dishonorable look like?
So I hope you've had a really good conversation around what it means to be honourable and indeed dishonourable. I'm sure you've had some interesting conversations around that. So now if you would read together chapter 2. Actually, we hear of Boaz beyond chapter 2, but we're focusing in today on that chapter. So go together and read chapter 2 and see what you find there.
So as you've read through that chapter, I hope it's kind of raised some little moments of joy, really, because actually there's some real beautiful, I feel a little bit precious about this story for obvious reasons, but hopefully you found some really little nuggets What I want us to just chat about, if that's all right, Catherine, is really Boaz's one of his initial responses to Ruth, and that is not just what he says or does as a matter of honour, but there's something beyond that, I think. I just read in this these couple of verses around verse 11 and 12. Boaz says to Ruth, "All that you have done for your mother-in-law since the death of your husband has been fully told me, and how you left your father and mother and your native land and came to a people that you did not know before. May the Lord reward you for your deeds, and may you have a full reward from the Lord, the God of Israel, under whose wings you have come for refuge." Now, maybe pick up a little bit of the honest stuff, but just that last phrase about God being the kind of the one who's under whose wings you've come.
It's a really beautiful image, isn't it? And it is an image that we probably create in our minds as we hear that idea of wings of protection, refuge, shelter, safety, being there. And in the context of this story, that's quite important because actually, so Ruth was a foreigner in that land, and it would not have been normal for her to have been able to marry again because she was not of that place. Yeah. And yet, we learn as the story goes on that's what happens, that she does find that relationship, she does find that security that she needed. But I think what's beautiful actually is that the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings you have come for refuge, actually, that God's protection is there, but actually that's outworked through human action.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which speaks very much into our calling as Christians, I think.
Yeah, it's the above and beyond stuff, isn't it? And it's that whole thing of kind of Boaz recognizing his own, actually expanding on his own faith by saying, actually, by you choosing the God that I believe in, you've got more out, there's more to this than just, you're not going to die.
Yes.
You're not going to be left for, you're going to be satisfied. Actually, it's about that refuge and protection is gorgeous, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really lovely. And there's a sense of abundance here as well. Yeah. I know she's gleaning and she still continues to glean, but later on in that chapter, Boaz instructs others in the field, leave plenty for her to glean, but actually leave more than that as well. Yeah. When you've picked some, leave some of those behind as well. So she was going to be able to glean in abundance.
Yeah,
really.
Absolutely. So we've got this kind of the integrity and the honor that he's bound by the laws that he follows, them kind of those Old Testament laws that we can read for ourselves. He's bound by those, but then he goes that step beyond, and there's a real sense of not just integrity, but of kindness in there, isn't there? It's gorgeous.
Yeah, yeah, and it's I think it challenges us about how we respond to those who might not be like you or might not be like me, who are in our midst, and what it means for us to go above and beyond, what it means for us to show kindness and more to those who might be displaced, to those who might not be in their home country, and how we can show the love of God to people as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Above and beyond. Yeah. And how we treat those who come for our help is a really fascinating and beautiful thing, and something really challenging for us, I think. And so some questions that will come up on the screen for you to chat around some of those themes that we've been thinking about and maybe expand on them a little bit more for yourselves.